Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. If you're coming on a few minutes late, we're very honored to have with us a very special guest tonight. Who you see, this is Erica Pelman. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And we want to thank you for joining us to talk about an organization that's linked here in Chicago as well, with Mrs. Nathan of blessed memory and her sister-in-law, Mrs. Robeson, which is how I first learned about it. And we're going to learn some more about it now. And it's called Shifra. So first of all, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to share with us about this organization and the important work that it does. So welcome. And let's start at the beginning. What is Shifra? What is it all about? And give us a little background, if you would.
So Shifra is a unique Jewish support network dedicated to nurturing women through unplanned pregnancies and empowering them to flourish as mothers and as women.
Wow. Okay. So the unexpected expectant mother feels all alone. So can you tell us, how did you get involved? How did you decide to make this your life's passion? Give us a little history. How many years has this been around? Can you give us a little bit of that story?
So I when I was in my 20s, I was working in Washington, D.C., and one day a friend called me. I didn't grow up Orthodox. I grew up in Austin, Texas. Yeehaw. And a girlfriend of mine that I had grown up with called me. We were both in our 20s, and she told me she was having an abortion.
Wait.
And I can remember that phone call very vividly. There was so much pain in her voice. She was single. He wasn't like good father material. He wasn't good husband material, but it was so incredibly painful. And up until that moment, it was really a theoretical issue with me. But then in that moment, it became very real, this crisis for her. And there was nothing I could say. She'd already made a decision that she wanted to do this. And it was just excruciating, really excruciating. And she's now, she's, God willing, going to have a child soon, but she's 41. I mean, she's had to live with this for the last many years. Mm-hmm. And so anyways, but that didn't make me think I started an organization. That was just a really painful experience. Then a couple of years later, I was sitting in my office and I suddenly had this thought, like, what if she had wanted to continue that pregnancy? Who could she have turned to? I know after she aborted, I gave money to this Christian organization in Austin where we grew up, to give diapers to somebody, or, to help another mother in the memory of my friend and the baby she could have had. And they sent me back a letter about how they converted someone to Christianity. And I'm like, that's not what my money was for. Right? My money was for diapers. And you're telling me, like, it was like, well, that would have been a really inappropriate, she wasn't interested in going there. Fine. It would have been a really inappropriate place for a Jewish girl to go. And I just suddenly, I was in my work one day and I knew I was leaving my job. And it's like, where could she have turned that was Jewish? Who could she have turned to? And I realized there was just no organized resources for this purpose in the entire United States, not in Brooklyn, not in Queens, not in Chicago, not in LA, nowhere. And it was this light bulb for me, and really like a spiritual calling that I needed to do something about this. And then it was just this journey. And what happened was that 2 weeks after I had that idea, I discovered I was pregnant for the first time, very intentionally. I was married, but had been trying and had been having a little bit of a hard time. So my journey into becoming a mother has been tied into figuring out how to help mothers who are unexpectedly pregnant. Now, my picture was my friend, 23, single, but then it's turned out that the need is a lot more broad. There can be many married women call us who are, married and they have children already and they're not expecting to have another child, and they're not prepared. Maybe they're like on IUD or some sort of very significant birth control. They're not prepared for it. And it really throws their life for a loop and is a crisis for them. So we've also, developed for them. So whoever calls us, from whatever background they're coming from, we are there to nurture them through the crisis and to empower them to flourish. And I first had the idea in 15 years ago in May of 2008. We hired Freda Nathan, who you know, as you mentioned, as our of blessed memory, as our counselor in 2013. She was our first counselor, and she worked for us up until very close to when she passed away. And we've added more counselors. Another counselor who's the second counselor we added as a local is Fran Gutstein, who also lives in the Chicago area. And then so we've expanded from there, but we've been around in some form for about 15 years.
Wow. So how do you go about starting such an organization? I mean, how do you sort of get the word out? Does this seem like there's something that people say, oh, this never happens to Jewish people? This is only, I mean, how do you get started? Like, so you decided you had this epiphany, you wanted to help expectant mothers. So where do you go from there?
So, thank God I was raised by an entrepreneur, and our attitude in our house is like, if there's a will, there's a way. And you have to just decide that you want to do something and then figure out how to do it. You don't know ahead of time how it's going to get done. If I'd known how much work it would be, it would have intimidated me, but it was just, you just put one foot ahead of the other. The first year, one woman called us. The second year, one woman called us. It took a very, very long time to build a reputation as an organization and to raise funds as an organization. Now we're working right now with 140 moms and babies around the country. But it's taken a very, very, very long time to build ourselves up and and also understand, how do you meet the need? See, my attitude was, whatever it takes. I don't know what you need, but whatever you tell me what you need, we'll figure out how to get it. And so we've built, but over time, we've worked with hundreds of people. We've understood what are the patterns and the need, and we've set up sort of, we're ready for your emergency, just like the firemen are ready for that type of emergency. We're ready for your pregnancy emergency. And we have professional counseling, and we have financial aid, and we have a social support system, and we have a prenatal birth education. We put, all these pieces into place, but it's all come from just asking the question, what do you need? And being willing to do whatever it took.
So can you sort of just, walk us through a hypothetical? The phone rings tomorrow, you answer it, somebody answers it.
So, right. So we have a helpline phone. So we have a helpline and a text line. So most often we'll get a text.
Give us the info, lay it out there. Give us the info.
So it's our website is jewishpregnancyhelp.org, or short, call Shifra, CALLSHIFRA.org, call Shifra.org. So you can contact us. You can leave. It's really about setting up an appointment with our counselors, but you can get a same day appointment with our counselors. And one of our counselors, we have 3 different counselors. We can get a call from anywhere. So give me a scenario. Is she married or single?
Okay, let's play it out. A woman calls up. She doesn't want to give you her name. She's very nervous. She's a little unsure of herself. She says, I heard about this. I don't know. It's for a friend. She's 25. She thinks maybe she's a little pregnant. She's not married, but she knows the guy. She's not really sure what to do. She knows, if her parents find out, she'll be kicked out of the family. She's terrified. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to go to Planned Parenthood and etc. What I'd call.
Okay, great. So when people call, they're generally somebody who, if they're considering abortion, they're somebody who's really conflicted about it. If they are sure they want to call Planned Parenthood, they call Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is more famous than us. But if they're calling, there's something in them that is deeply conflicted about this. And our approach, we call it the NACE approach: nurture, empower, support. So the first thing that will happen on the phone is that she'll just be really deeply heard. What you feel right now makes sense. It makes sense that you want to put your head in a hole. It makes sense that you don't want to be pregnant. It makes sense, like, all of your feelings about this and all your fear really makes sense. And there's a place of real non-judgment about her experience and why she's scared and why she's considering abortion and why it's really hard for her in that moment. So that's the first thing. And it's really important for people to know that it's okay how they feel and that it's okay that they're in crisis. I mean, we're here because this happens. So that's the first piece. And then the second thing that happens in the conversation with the counselors is they look at, like, help the woman when she starts to feel safe, like, look at her own strengths about how she's approaching the situation. So she's really scared, but she was brave enough to call. She's considering abortion, but she's probably considering abortion because if she were to be a mother, she'd want to be a good mother. Like, she's someone who wants to be a good mother. She wants to do the right thing. She's just feeling scared. And from there, from first, like, just deeply hearing her, and second, deeply seeing her strengths in the situation, then the counselor talks to her about, her feelings about everything that's going on with her, but also what are the resources that we offer if someone does continue their pregnancy. So it's very rare that we have clients who place for adoption. If they do, we provide continual counseling support. We give them a grant afterwards to help them with their own emotional health. Most women who are calling us are really more trying to decide whether they could become a mother or are they going to have an abortion. And so our resources for becoming a mother are a lifetime. We actually offer a lifetime parenting support group. And so we're not going to say, this is actually from Freda Nathan, a blessed memory. Anyone who knew her, she's a very practical person. And she was the first person I hired to be our counselor. And she really formed this program with us and shaped it. And she was very clear. She doesn't want to pretend like life is easy. She doesn't want to sell to someone, oh, it's going to be easy and it's going to be okay. Like in a superficial way. She was deep, but she was not superficial. So that's not what we say. We don't say it's going to be easy. We say, we're going to be with you. If you decide to go on this journey, we're with you, and we're with you for a lifetime. We actually have a support group that where we teach. We have a parenting coach that works every week with our moms forever. You can be in it forever. You can have a teenager in it. Like we're making an 18-year commitment to you to raise this child along with you. The first year, you also have access to a professional counselor who's going to help you with the whole transition. So all these issues, like how would you tell your parents? How would you deal with the boyfriend? All that, you're not going to solve that in a phone call. What we commit to is we'll be there with you. There are answers. There are ways to deal with every single piece of this process, and we'll be with you if that's what you want. We're here. And then we also have financial aid, and our financial aid is very flexible. So it's not one size fits all. Some women, I'll give you an example. We had a woman call us from New York, from Brooklyn. She was getting out of an abusive relationship. She had 3 diapers left. She did not have a cell phone. She had to borrow a cell phone to call. And she calls us. And so we, immediately started helping her. She was so sick she couldn't work. She was 11 weeks pregnant. It was just a mess. She wasn't considering abortion, but she was just in total crisis. We help her get her cell phone. We help her get food. We help her get diapers first for the baby. And then she told us she had this idea for starting a small business. And we ended up giving her a small grant. And this is 1 year out. This was last year. She called us. She's totally self-sufficient, doesn't need any more financial help. She started a small business. More often than that, we'll help with a year of diapers, help with babysitting. But, if you're talking about somebody who's not financially stable, we're going to work also on job. Can we get you into job training? What can we do to stabilize your financial situation? We also work on relationships, so we had one woman call us sort of similar to you. What are my parents going to say? She ended up working things out with her parents. Her parents invited her into their home to stay. And she was able, to actually reinvigorate her relationship with her parents, even though it was an uncomfortable situation. She came from a religious family, but they ended up embracing her with open arms and loving her child, even though it was not the ideal. So but none of it gets solved in a phone call. What we can say in the phone call is, we're here for you for the long haul.
Wow. Have you had any pushback from anybody being oppositional, or have you just encountered people being supportive in the community and so on? Have you had any?
I think it was very it was very hard for, no, I mean, we had a lot. I told you, the first year we helped one person. The second year we helped one person. The second year we got an article in the Washington Post talking about how, oh, this organization was this anti-abortion organization and how terrible, a lot of people saying how terrible it was. Like, we're just trying to help people. I mean, are you against getting people diapers? Like who wants them? It was, so we had a hard time. It's ironic because I mean, nobody has done more than me to bring people together who really think differently about this. I've always had people who are pro-choice on my board. I've always had people who are pro-life on my board. I'm like, I don't care what you think. I care, do you want to help people who want help? I mean, that's all that matters to me. I'm not making decisions about court rulings or a law. I'm making a decision about, am I going to do everything in my power to help a woman who wants to continue her pregnancy but is in crisis?
So call a kavod. Well, please give us the website or other information. If somebody here knows somebody, what do they do? Just walk us through it and leave us with that. And then if anybody wants to unmute and jump in with a question, otherwise we're going to say thank you. We're going to be respectful of your time and really appreciate what you're doing. Call a kavod, and
I appreciate
really beautiful.
It's like it's my pleasure to work with shluchim all over the country. I mean, it really is really like in Maui, I had a shliach who was there. We had a homeless client in Maui, was living on the beach and pregnant. And I ended up sending rent money to the Chabad, who went and got the rent money to her. And like the client I mentioned in New York ended up going to Amanis, the one who was getting an abusive relationship, ended up going to Amanis Friedman's workshop, and he was like the tzedek at her son's bris. Like I am so deeply appreciative of like how much Chabad gives to our world, and has the attitude, of just loving every Jew is something I try to emulate. So our website is jewishpregnancyhelp.org or callshifra.org. And on the website, there's our phone number, 888-360-JUPA. I think it's at 5872. There's also a text line. If anybody wants to donate, we're in the middle of a campaign right now. Sure. So you're welcome to do that. We give a lot of money, so it will go right into the hands of the moms who need it.
You're amazing. You didn't bring up about adoption. So of course you have counseling for that too.
Yes. Yeah. So yes. So, I mean, if right now we have a woman who's going to be placing for adoption, so we provide a lot of support, but we're different than an adoption agency. So we don't set people up with we don't make a match with an adoptive parents. If somebody's looking to adopt, they shouldn't call us. We don't do that. We send them to an adoption agency, but we do provide services for the mother, and our commitment is, being available for a lifetime also after placing for adoption, if that's what's needed. Although there's more specific birth mother resources, but we are there. And we actually have a young lady who's placing for adoption, who just recently called us, and we're helping her with some housing issues and all that kind of thing.
Wow, amazing. Okay, give us one more time the website, and then we're going to say goodnight.
Okay, wonderful. Website is jewishpregnancyhelp.org or callshifra.org.
Callshifra.org. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing. As we know, saving literal Jewish lives at the youngest level, and for providing help for these moms who are in a pretty rough situation. Hashem should give you strength to continue to do more and more, to continue to help. Thank you so much.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Okay. Good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night. Thank you again.